I own every single good Fast and the Furious movie on 4K Blu-ray. That's right, 1 through 8, miss me with 9. But is Fast 10 worthy of being in my collection? Well, let's talk about it. What's up, my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here, and I just got home from watching Fast 10 or Fast X, whatever you want to call it. On my channel, I've reviewed dozens of movies, and I have to say, this is the one that is going to be the most difficult to break down. So as I do with all my reviews, I'm going to go over some information about the movie to let you know what it's about, who's making it, who's in it. Then I will try to get into the pros and the cons, and finally let you know who I think this movie is for and who should go see it in theaters, if anyone. So if that kind of thing sounds good to you and you want to see more movie reviews, ranking videos, trailer reactions, all that good stuff, make sure you subscribe. Okay, so first things first, Fast X or Fast 10 is of course the 10th installment in the main Fast and the Furious franchise. There's also Hobbs and Shaw, that was kind of a spin-off, but as far as the main stories are concerned, this is the 10th installment, and it is the first movie in what seems to be a trilogy to conclude the franchise, question mark, I don't know. They were saying there was supposed to be a part 1 and part 2, but then Vin Diesel said that it may be a trilogy, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. Either way, this movie definitely opens up the franchise for at least one other to follow. Now, several of the Fast and the Furious movies have been directed by Justin Lin, and this one was going to be directed by him, but I think about 3 weeks into production, he quit. And so they had to scramble and find a replacement, and that's when they brought in, I believe his name is pronounced Louis Leterrier. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. I think he's French. You might have heard of him before. He directed a movie called Unleashed with Jet Li, which is an awesome movie. He also did The Transporter 2, which was, okay, and The Incredible Hulk, which I thought also was okay. So a moderately good director who has focused, I think, a lot on action movies. So that works. And of course, the movie stars all of the usual suspects that we know from all the other Fast and Furious movies. There are a few additions though. For one, we have Jason Momoa, who is showing up as the main villain in this movie. He is apparently the son of the drug lord in the 5th Fast and Furious movie, and he is out for revenge. As far as new characters are concerned, you also have Brie Larson. She plays the daughter of Mr. Nobody. And there's also Alan Ritchson, who is playing kind of a special agent. You'll probably recognize him from being this giant jack dude in some TV shows. I think he worked on Reacher most recently. I think the first time I saw him was on Smallville, the Superman show from back in the day, where I think he played Aquaman, oddly enough. So you have 2 Aquamen in this movie. Weird. And the plot is overall pretty simple. It's Jason Momoa's character being out for revenge. He's a psychotic but very capable villain, and he is trying to break apart Dom's family. So nothing really crazy there as far as the general plot of the movie. Now, this is where it gets tricky. I like to break my reviews into pros and cons, but what's gonna determine a pro for you or for me might be completely different when it comes to this movie. This is a movie that is very split on who is going to enjoy it. So I've got some bullet points listed over here on the side. I'll try to go through them kind of one by one and let you know whether or not I think this thing is going to be worth watching. For one, the first question that you might be asking, is this better than Fast 9? Yes, I think so. I personally did not like Fast 9 at all. As I mentioned before, I own 1 through 8, but I purposely have not bought 9. And I do think this movie is better than 9, but not by a whole lot. The first thing I want to touch on is something that, again, can be taken as a pro or a con, and that is the action in the movie. I honestly don't know how they do it. I mean, in Fast 9, they went to outer space, and they don't go to space in this one, but somehow it's even more completely insane than the last movie. Dom and the crew are basically superheroes at this point. I mean, I think that's something we can all agree on by now. They pull off things both in cars and physically, like hand to hand, that just don't make sense. Like seriously, everyone in this movie is pretty much Captain America super soldier type. So again, that could be a pro depending on how you're looking at it. If you want to see wild, over the top, completely unrealistic action, then this could be something you would enjoy. But at the same time, if you're the kind of person who wants a little more realism in your movie, this is not going to work. This isn't really a spoiler, but there's a moment in the movie where they show the Hot Wheels logo, the little tiny cars that we all used to play with when we were kids. And that is what the car stunts in this movie feel like. They feel like a little kid with a Hot Wheels car just riding all over the walls and off the bed frame onto the desk, and physics basically just not mattering at all. It feels like a Hot Wheels commercial. And for me, that's part of what I didn't enjoy. All the stunts were just too separated from reality. They didn't have any weight to them. I mean, in some cases, literal weight, to where it was basically the cars were flying. But if you don't have that weight, that gravity to your stunts, and if the physics just don't matter, then there aren't any stakes, because anything is possible. And this is something we've seen over and over again through the Fast series, whether it was when they were in Dubai jumping from one building to another and then to another other building. It gets to a point where if anything is possible, then there are no stakes. And that's one of the things I really prefer about the older movies. Yes, they were doing ridiculous stunts, but there was always a chance that something bad could happen. There was always a chance that it might not work. And here, it just feels like if the writers want it to work, it's going to work, even if it makes no sense whatsoever. Now, again, I reiterate, this could all be a pro for you if that's what you want to see. If you want to see physics getting thrown out the window and cars driving up and down walls and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, then that's great. Something that I don't think that can be misconstrued as a pro or a con, though, is the plot and the dialogue. A lot of the writing in general, I feel, was pretty poor. You know, this movie suffers from having so many different characters in it and so many different plot threads that are moving along at the same time that you have to not only balance the time that you have these characters on screen, but you have to make sure that whatever they're doing is important to the overall story. And when you have all of those threads, sometimes it can be really hard to manage. And it feels like that's what they ran into here. If there's too many moving pieces, if there's too many plot threads to follow, just don't have that many plot threads. Either simplify the amount of people that are in this movie or combine groups and make it smaller, make there be less things to focus on. You don't have to have all of this stuff going on at the same time. It just felt like they overreached with the plot and with the story, and they didn't really know how to reel it all in and bring it all together in an effective way. Also, a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the writing was really, really cheesy. I mean, I'm telling you straight up, there were so many scenes in this movie where I face palmed so hard in the theater. I thought I was going to give myself a black eye. And I get it. This is not something to be taken seriously, but that doesn't mean you can't have reasonable dialogue. One thing I did actually enjoy in the movie was, and I'm surprised by this, it was Jason Momoa'S performance. When I saw him in the trailers, I wasn't sure how he was going to come across. It just felt like he didn't really fit into the world, but it seems like the tone of the movie in general has changed since some of the prior ones. And so his character really did fit. He was playing kind of this psychotic, over-the-top, crazy, but fun character. And I think if you put him in any other movie, it wouldn't really work. But because everything in this movie was so over the top, I feel like he really fit right in. And he's just a really likable, charismatic guy. So I actually enjoyed the time that we spent with him, even though he was doing some really dark things. But I guess that's what the series is now. Everybody is a cartoon character. And if you can accept that, then it's fine. I should also mention, speaking of, real quick, of the stunts and some of the scenes in the movie, the action scenes, they literally play Rocket League in this movie. I'm pretty sure you see it in the trailer. There's a giant rolling ball and they're knocking it around with cars. It's straight up Rocket League, and you can't convince me otherwise. I think the best way to describe this movie is it's like pro wrestling, but with cars. There's a lot of interpersonal character drama, but it's all nothing that's to be taken too seriously. But sometimes that's what you want in a movie. Sometimes you don't want to have to go to a movie and sit there and learn a valuable life lesson. Sometimes you just want to go see some things get blowed up real good. And that is what Fast and the Furious has become. Really, it's funny that Universal makes these movies because it feels like a Universal ride. If you've been to Universal Studios, it feels like one of those movie rides, except over 2.5 hours. Also, as an aside, one thing I want to touch on, this is just something I noticed throughout the movie, and it kind of, I don't want to say bothered me, but it gave me pause. Can we talk about the Toretto family genetics and how they make no sense? Okay, you have Dom and Mia as brother and sister, which, okay, that makes sense. I can see that. They look similar. Then there's Jacob, who is played by John Cena, and he's supposed to be their brother? Okay. Maybe he's their half brother and they just don't talk about that, because he looks nothing like either of them at all. He is a completely different ethnicity. Then you have Dom's kid, who is pretty prevalent in this movie, and his mother is Elena, who is in, of course, the prior films. So I have questions. Dom, Vin Diesel, is light-skinned. Elena is hella light-skinned. I mean, she's straight up blonde hair, blue eyes. Or I don't know if she has blue eyes, but she's light. And then their son is not even close. I mean, I don't know, Dom, you might want to get a DNA test because that baby don't look like you. Look, overall, if you are watching the 10th installment in this franchise, chances are you've seen 1 through 9 already. And unfortunately, you kind of have to see at least a few of those prior movies in order to be up to speed with what's going on in this one. So if you're considering watching Fast 10, it's probably already something that you like. And nothing I say is going to change your mind. And I don't want to change your mind. I love the older Fast and the Furious movies, and I'm kind of falling off with these later ones. But if this is something you enjoy, then check it out. It's definitely better than the last one, but I just don't think it stands up to some of the originals that I personally love. And the real question is, where do we go from here? I mean, we've already been to space. I feel like the only thing left to do is time travel. Which reminds me, I've got a video coming out in the next few days that is going to be my top 5 movie franchises that I think the Fast and the Furious should cross over with. So there might be a time travel movie in that list. If you want to see that, make sure you subscribe so that way you can see when I post that video. Also, I should say this Sunday, May 21st at 4 p.m., I'm going to be doing my very first live stream from this channel. We're going to have a little Q&A and we're going to talk about some of my favorite movies over the years. So if you have any questions that you want to leave for that Q&A, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, hopefully I can see you then. All right, so that's going to be it for me. Fast 10 or Fast X. I didn't personally like it, but if it sounds like something that would be up your alley, definitely check it out, at least for all the wild stunts that you're going to get to see. But whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. If you've seen Fast 10, did you enjoy it more or less than I did? And maybe what are some of your favorite Fast and the Furious movies? I think to me, the original is still the best to this day. Whatever you think, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, be good.